All right, good people of the tavern, welcome back. So very glad you could join us. Hello, hello. Let's see who all do we have in. We have Kelsey, we have Capitan Hoodie, we have Irewolf. Good to see you, my friend. It's been a long time. Uh, and then we have Teresa, we have Matty, we have Erin, we have Nawi, who came in with Matty. Welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. We have Quirt. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you all. So, you said I have 150 songs released, 1 book published, and 3 more in the works. I've started going to the gym on the regular. Tax season is gearing up, and I've been promoted to an instructor for new hires. That's just the good things. No need to go into the BS that came in between all that. There's always hard work in between all the things. Bobby, hello, welcome in. We're gonna make a Castle Time song, are we now? Tyson, hello, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, brother. So many folk. J-Bro. Katie brought my name to the tavern. I'm very grateful to be here. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Katie had said you were going to be coming in. But hello and welcome. Molly Sue, hello. So very glad you could join us. Everyone grab your seats. Come in, come in, come in from the cold. Grab a tankard, fill a mug. Welcome. We've got Jessica, we've got Ashley. Ashley, how is Mateus feeling? We also have Jessica. Good evening. So ready for stories after a lengthy work day. As am I. It's going to be... Well, I don't know that it's going to be a good one, because Bethany keeps gearing me up that this is going to be absolutely... the next couple chapters are going to be dreadful. We are on chapter 8 of book 7 of Harry Potter. I would imagine, Matty, it's a new thing that you're learning. Like Adventure Time, but Castle Time. Yeah, today I was running so far behind. We had some things that happened that I needed to take care of, and then I was feeding the lady and the boy. He's doing a lot better. He's on pain medication now, so he's for sure feeling better. He wants me to send. Waiting for the next. Mary Beth, hello, welcome in. Bet I'll start working on it after I finish my thoughts on this book outline I've been working on and off all day. What did I miss? I'm happy with it, okay. And I've been wonderful. We've had a lot of really wonderful folk join the tavern as of late, and it's been a wonderful thing to be sure. The tavern is bustling almost every night, and I can't say that I would ever complain. Erin, thank you for the 5-stream streak. Showed up every night. Inuit myth is very interesting. Milu, hello, hello, it's going well. I'm glad you could drop in. How are you feeling? He wants me to send a big kiss to you. Tell him I said thank you. I appreciate it and I accept it gracefully and gratefully. I started working from home regularly. A later shift that ends at 9 p.m. PT is the only reason I need to keep a regular schedule. Well, I mean, that's good to start working from home, though. Later shift is no fun, but working from home is wonderful. Jason and Crystal Elliott says, love your videos, keep up the amazing job. Thank you kindly. The compliment is deeply appreciated. I'm very glad that you enjoy the tales here in the tavern. Thank you kindly for that. Prost, hello, hello, welcome in. Finally made it in. Hello, Castle and Tavern family. Hello, hello. It won't let me send the word smooch. That's it's very funny. For some reason, many smooches for him. Yeah, and now that he's been mentioned again, you have to give him a big, wet, sloppy kiss again from all of us. It's just gonna go back and forth forever. Good evening, Castle. I sincerely hope you're doing well and that you had a relaxing dinner. I actually didn't eat dinner. I made dinner for the lady and the boy, but thank you, Esther. I appreciate that. They had some mixed vegetable glass noodle stir fry with tofu, and it was very tasty. But alright, friends, I made you all wait long enough tonight, so I hope that you'll forgive me for the late start. And let's just go ahead and get directly into it. Real quick, if you're over on Twitch, we're going to run some ads real quick so we get an hour without them, so you don't get anything interrupted. That should give us enough time to get through the chapter without you guys having to be interrupted at all by ads. And for those of you who don't want to sit through them, I understand. Ads are terrible. For those of you who do, I appreciate you. They do help to support the tavern just a small bit. But it really, Twitch makes us run them, so it's not a great thing. But I appreciate you, those of you who sit through them. So we'll be back in 3 minutes. And then we will start Chapter 8 3 minutes from now. Go grab your drinks. Go grab your snacks. And we will begin shortly. Cindy, hello! So very glad that you could drop in. I hope that you are going to spend some time with us this fine evening. Took the kids fishing today. They were out for 9 hours and didn't catch a single fish. The kids were busy exploring the woods and tossing things into the water to actually catch it. That's fair enough. Fishing is a hard thing to get into. Did you all figure out the gilded issue? So, sadly, we're having to go back to Discord. It's not something that we would prefer, but for now, we're going back to Discord until we can find a different thing to do. I'll get all curled up in my bed. Absolutely. At some point, I did quote, I don't know if it's still up. We have a couple of different videos coming out on all of that. That will be coming out either at the end of this year or at the beginning of next. No, I don't really have anything on any Inuit myth coming out, Matty. Not anytime soon, anyways. I like fishing, but I don't want to touch the worms or the fish. So what you like is relaxing out in nature, Milu. You don't like fishing. Because what you just described is relaxing in nature and not fishing. Okay, add Discord again. What's the Discord handle? Destiny, can you grab a Discord link for me and drop it in chat? Rachel, hello. Welcome. And yes. Well, I like casting the line and reeling it in. Okay, so light exercise out in nature then. Over on Twitch. Mega Fluffy Bunny, thank you so much for the heart, me. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Rachel, hello, welcome in. I didn't fish, I read a book. Yeah, that's more to like. I'll fish if I want to eat them, otherwise I just bring my book or my dad and brothers fish. Right. I'm not big on fishing. I like deep sea fishing, but shore fishing and boat fishing, not really enough going on. Just putting me to work really. I apologize. Bobby needed a link. Right, I have to get the barkeep roll riled up, Frost. User 705601296550474. We are reading Harry Potter, Book 7, and we are on Chapter 8. I'm here for the anime side rants. There'll probably be some. They inevitably end up here. But I appreciate you. I'm glad you dropped back in. Bless you, my love. I'm glad you dropped back in, Bunny. I'm just gonna call you, but it's a long name. Guys, I got some money, and I don't know what to do with it. Save it, or if you don't want to save it, spend it. I recommend saving, but I won't tell you what to do with your money. Susan, thank you for the heart, me. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. I'm thinking of making a fire pit room for this. My grandfather spoiled me and would bait the hook and take the fish off for me. I haven't fished since he died because I'm not touching a worm. You can fish without touching live bait. There are plenty of ways you can do that. Susan, thank you for the pumpkin lattes. Very much in the spirit of the season. Thank you kindly. I haven't been setting up the gift goals on TikTok because they got rid of Deanies. That made me sad. So I don't even set them up anymore. Alright, ads are done over on Twitch, so we're gonna get to reading, friends. When did I miss a stream in only on a 3 stream? The streaks are very, very precarious. Nilu, so I miss them all the time. For people who I'm constantly lurking with, so I have no idea. Nope, worms or nothing. Alright. Yeah, they took away all of the Deanies. I was so upset. But it looks like the auto gift was pumpkin lattes. That's hilarious. How very in the spirit of the sea. How very basic. Alright, friends. We're going to go ahead and begin. To all of our new friends, welcome in. To everyone who is just stopping by, we appreciate you. If you do not know who I am or where you are, I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again, I read you all a story. Tonight we are in Harry Potter, Book 7. We are on Chapter 8, The Wedding. And you, my friends, are in a tavern at the end of the world, where all stories eventually come to rest. And you have found your way here because you sought a story and the portal opened for you. So grab a seat, fill it, and fill your glass. It's time for stories. I saw that I was surprised. Only the most basic for TikTok, as it should be. Alright, friends, let's begin. Chapter 8, The Wedding. 3 o'clock the following afternoon, Harry, Ron, Fred, and George, standing outside the great white marquee in the orchard, awaiting the arrival of wedding guests. Harry had taken a large dose of polyjuice potion. He was now the double of a red-headed muggle boy from the local village, Ottery St. Catchpole, from whom Fred had stolen hairs using a summoning charm. The plan was to introduce Harry as Cousin Barney, and to trust that a great number of Weasley relatives to camouflage him. All 4 of them were clutching seating plans so that they could help show people to the right seats. A host of white-robed waiters had arrived an hour earlier, along with golden-jacketed band, and all these wizards were currently sitting a short distance away under a tree. Harry could see a blue haze of pipe smoke issuing from the spot. Behind Harry, the entrance to the marquee revealed rows and rows of fragile golden chairs set on either side of a long purple carpet. The supporting poles were entwined with white and gold flowers. Fred and George had fastened an enormous bunch of golden balloons over the exact point where Bill and Fleur would shortly become husband and wife. Outside, butterflies and bees were hovering lazily over the grass and hedgerows. Harry was rather uncomfortable. The Muggle boy whose appearance he was affecting was slightly fatter than him, and his dress robes felt hot and tight in the full glare of the summer's day. "When I get married," said Fred, tugging at his collar of his own robes, "I won't be bothering with any of this nonsense. You all can wear what you like, but I'll put a full body bar curse on Mom until it's all over." "She wasn't too bad this morning, considering," said George. "Cried a bit about Percy not being here, but who wants him? Oh, blimey, brace yourselves. Here they come, look." Brightly coloured figures were appearing one by one out of nowhere at the distant boundary of the yard. Within minutes, a procession had formed, which began to sneak its way up through the garden toward the marquee. Exotic flowers and bewitched birds fluttered on the witches' hats, while precious gems glittered from many a wizard's cravats. A hum of excited chatter grew louder and louder, drowning the sound of the bees as the crowd approached the tent. Excellent. I think I'll see a few Vila cousins, said George, craning his neck for a better look. They'll need help understanding our English customs. I'll look after 'em. Not so fast, your holiness, said Fred, darting past the gaggle of middle-aged witches heading for the procession. He said, permits boys à vous, to the pair of French girls who giggled aloud and allowed him to escort them inside. George was left to deal with the middle-aged witches, and Ron took charge of Mr. Weasley's old ministry colleague Perkins, while a rather deaf old couple fell to Harry's lot. Watcha! Said a familiar voice. Sorry, I was trying to figure out who I was voicing. Said a familiar voice as he came out from the marquee again and found Tonks and Lupin at the front of the queue. She had turned blonde for the occasion.
Arthur told us you were the one with the curly hair. Sorry about last night,
she added in a whisper as Harry led them up the aisle.
The ministry's being very anti-werewolf at the moment, and we thought our presence might not do you any favours. It's fine, I understand,
said Harry, speaking more to Lupin than Tonks. Lupin gave a swift smile, but as they turned away, Harry saw Lupin's face fall again into lines of misery. He did not understand it, but there was no time to dwell on the matter. Hagrid was causing a certain amount of disruption. Having misunderstood Fred's direction, he sat himself not upon the magically enlarged and reinforced seat set aside for him in the back row, but on 5 seats that now resembled a large pile of golden grass sticks. While Mr. Weasley repaired the damage and Hagrid shouted apologies to anybody who would listen, Harry hurried back to the entrance to find Ron face to face with the most eccentric-looking wizard. Slightly cross-eyed, with shoulder-length white hair, the texture of candy floss, he wore a cap whose tassel dangled in front of his nose, and his robes of an eye-watering shade of egg yolk yellow. An odd symbol, rather a triangular eye, glistened from the golden chain around his neck.
Xenophilius Lovegood,
he said, extending his hand to Harry.
My daughter and I live just over the hill, so kind of the good Weasleys to invite us. But I think you know my Luna,
he added to Ron. Yes, said Ron. Isn't she with you?
She lingered in that charming little garden to say hello to the gnomes. She's such a glorious infestation. How few wizards realize just how much we can learn from the wise little gnomes. Or, to give them their correct name, Gernerblium gardensi.
Oz do know a whole lot of excellent swear words, said Ron, but I think Fred and George taught them those. He led the party of warlocks into the marquee as Luna rushed up.
Hello, Harry,
she said.
My name's Barney,
said Harry flummoxed.
Oh, have you changed that too?
She asked brightly.
How did you know? Oh, just your expression,
she said. Like her father, Luna was wearing bright yellow robe, which she had accessorized with a large sunflower in her hair. Once you got over the brightness of it all, the general effect was quite pleasant. At least there were no radishes dangling from her ears. Xenophilius, who was deep in conversation with an acquaintance, had missed the exchange between Harry and Luna. Bidding the wizard farewell, he turned to his daughter, who held up a finger and said,
Daddy, look, one of the gnomes actually bit me. Oh, how wonderful! Gnome saliva is enormously beneficial, said Mr. Lovegood, seizing Luna's outstretched finger and examining the bleeding puncture marks. Luna, my love, If you should feel any burgeoning talent today, perhaps an unexpected urge to sing opera or declaim in Mirmish, do not repress it. You may have been gifted by the Jernumblies.
Ron passed them in the opposite direction and let out a loud snort.
Ron can laugh,
said Luna serenely as Harry led her to her and Xenophilius towards their seats.
My father has done a lot of research on Genumbly magic.
Really? Said Harry, who had long since decided not to challenge Luna or her father's peculiar views.
Are you sure you don't want to put anything on that bite, though? Oh, it's fine,
said Luna, sucking her finger in a dreamy fashion and looking Harry up and down.
You look smart. I told Daddy most people would probably wear dress robes, but he believes you ought to wear sun colours to a wedding. For luck, you know.
As she drifted off after her father, Ron reappeared with an elderly witch clutching his arm. Her beaky nose, red-rimmed eyes, and feathery pink hat gave her the look of a bad-tempered flamingo.
And your hair's much too long, Ronald. For a moment I thought you were Geneva. Geneva. Merlin's beard. Is that Xenophilius? What is Xenophilius Lovegood wearing? He looks like an omelette. And who are you?
She barked at Harry.
Oh, yeah, Auntie Muriel. This is our cousin Barney. Another Weasley? You breed like gnomes. Isn't Harry Potter here? I was hoping to meet him. I thought he was a friend of yours, Ronald. Or have you merely been boasting? No, he couldn't come.
Cindy, thank you kindly. I appreciate you for that. Hang on, Martin, hello, welcome in, my friend. Kicks down the door and comes on in. Welcome, my friend. I love listening to anything that you are telling, and this is why. Your voice is outstanding to listen to, and you get into and passionate about what you're reading or talking. Please keep sharing with me. Bless you, bow down to you. Thank you kindly, Nicole. I'm glad that you enjoy your visits to the tavern. It's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. Settle in, grab a seat, and fill a mug. Key, hello, welcome in. Greetings and hallucinations to you as well. I got Rachel, Yes, we got Jason, we got Nicole, we got Esther. All right, excellent. Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Welcome, friends. I'm glad to see you all. Fill your seats, fill your drinks. It's a fine evening of storytelling. All right.
Made an excuse, did he? Not as normless as he looks in his photographs, then. I've just been instructing the bride on how to wear my tiara.
She shouted at Harry.
Goblin maid, you know. It's been in my family for centuries. She's a good-looking girl, but still French.
I think we all feel that way a little bit.
Well. Find me a good seat, Ronald. And I am 107. I ought not be on my feet too long.
As a fine mug you have there, Cass. Well, thank you, J bro. What was your name again? Score. Hello. Good to see you, my friend. I'm sorry it took me so long, Skor, but I did get you an invite over to the guild. I messaged it to you. I apologize for the length of time that took, but it is in your inbox if you still like it. Jordan, do you have a preferred nickname, Jordan, or do you prefer I call you Jordan? Because I can call you J-Bro, but if you prefer Jordan, I will most certainly, To the guild. You had spoken to the lady about getting an invite to the guild, which is our server. So there's a link to the Discord up at the top of the chat there. Or if you want to get into the guild, which is not going to be there much longer because it's shutting down, that link is in your whispers. I sent it to you. Whiskey and storytelling, yes, yes indeed, Martin. Jordan is just fine, or J Bro, Castle, whichever is easy for you. I try to use whatever the preference is. That's a lovely name, Jordan. I hope you're doing well. We got Esther Ghost Letters over here now. Welcome over to Twitch, Esther. Where's the bear? The bear has not yet dropped in this evening, Martin. You're going to be holding down the fort for him till he gets here. Belinda, hello, welcome in. We have started reading, but only just. You were only a couple of pages in. You made it just in the nick of time. And the captain is back. Esther is everywhere. She's everywhere and nowhere. She is a ghost, but she is also material. All right, let's continue. Ron gave Harry a meaningful look as he passed and did not reappear for some time. When next they met at the entrance, Harry had shown a dozen other people to their places. The marquee was nearly full now, and for the first time, there was no queue outside. Nightmare Muriel is, said Ron, mopping his forehead on his sleeve. She used to come for Christmas every year, then, thank God, she took offence because Fred and George set off a dung bomb on her chair at dinner. Dad always says she'll have written them out of her will. Like I care. They're going up. They end up richer than anyone in the family, right there going. Wow, he added, blinking rather rapidly as Hermione came hurrying towards them. You look great. Always the tone of surprise, said Hermione, though she smiled. She was wearing a floaty lilac-coloured dress with matching high heels. Her hair was sleek and shining. Your great-aunt Muriel doesn't agree. I just met her upstairs while giving Fleur the tiara. She was giving Fleur the tiara. She said, "Oh dear, is this the Muggle-born?" and then said, "Bad posture and skinny ankles." Don't take it personally. She's rude to everyone, said Ron. We all have a relative that's like that. That's all right, Disney. I appreciate you, love. All right, where was I? Talking about Muriel, inquired George, re-emerging from the marquee with Red. Yeah, she's just told me my ears are lopsided, old bat. I wish old Uncle Bilius was still with us, though. He was right laugh at weddings. Wasn't he the one who saw Grim and died 24 hours later? Said Hermione. Well, yeah, he went a bit odd towards the end, conceded George. But before he went loopy, he was the life of the party and soul too, said Fred. He used to down an entire bottle of fire whiskey, then run into the dance floor, hoist up his robes and start pulling bunches of flowers out of his... Yes, he sounds like a real charmer, said Hermione, while Harry roared with laughter. Never married, some reason, said Ron. You amaze me, said Hermione. They were all laughing so much that none of them noticed the latecomer, a dark-haired young man with a large curved nose and thick black eyebrows, until he held out his invitation and Ron and said, with his eyes on Hermione, "You look wonderful." Victor! She shrieked and dropped her small beaded bag, which made a loud thump quite disproportionate to its size. As she scrambled, blushing, to pick it up, she said, I didn't know you were... Goodness, it's lovely to see... How are you? Ron's ears had turned bright red again. After glancing at Crumb's invitation, as if he did not believe a word of it, he said, much too loudly, How come you're here? Fleur has invited me, Crumb said, eyebrows raised. Harry, who had no grudge against Crumb, shook hands, then, feeling that it would be prudent to remove Crumb from Ron's vicinity, offered to show him to his seat. Your friend is not pleased to see me, said Crom, as they entered the now packed marquee. Or is he a relative? He added with a glance at Harry's red curly hair. Cousins, Harry muttered, but Crom was not really listening. His appearance was causing a stir, particularly amongst the Vila cousins. He was, after all, a famous Quidditch player. While people were still craning their necks to get a good look at him, Ron, Hermione, and Fred and George came hurrying down the aisle. Time to sit, Fred told Harry, or we're going to get run over by the bride. Harry, Ron, and Hermione took their seats in the second row behind Fred and George. Hermione looked rather pink, and Ron's ears were still scarlet. After a few moments, he muttered to Harry, Did you see he's grown a stupid little beard? Harry gave a non-committal grunt. A sense of jittery anticipation had filled the warm tent, the general murmuring broken by the occasional spurts of excited laughter. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley strolled up the aisle, smiling and waving at relatives. Mrs. Weasley was wearing a brand new set of amethyst-colored robes with a matching hat. A moment later, Bill and Charlie stood up at the front of the marquee, both wearing dress robes. With large white roses in their buttonholes, Fred woof whistled, and there was an outbreak of giggling from the Vila cousins. Then the crowd fell silent, as music swelled from what seemed to be the golden balloons. Oh, said Hermione, swiveling around her chair to look at the entrance. A great collective sigh issued from the assembled witches and wizards as Monsieur Delacour and Fleur came walking up the aisle, Fleur gliding, Monsieur Delacour bouncing and beaming. Fleur was wearing a very simple white dress and seemed to be emitting a strong silvery glow. While her radiance usually dimmed everyone else by comparison, today it beautified everybody it fell upon. Ginny and Gabriel, both wearing golden dresses, looked even prettier than usual. And once Fleur had reached him, Bill did not look as though he had ever met Fenrir Greyback. Ladies and gentlemen, said a slightly sing-song voice with a slight shock. Harry saw the same small, tufty-haired wizard who presided over Dumbledore's funeral, now standing in front of Bill and Fleur. We gather here today to celebrate the union of two faithful souls.
Yes, my tiara sets off the whole thing nicely,
said Auntie Muriel in a rather carrying whisper.
but I must say, Ginevra's dress is far too low cut.
Ginny glanced around, grinning, winked at Harry, and then quickly faced back front again. Harry's mind wandered a long way from the marquee, back to the afternoon spent alone with Ginny in lonely parts of the school grounds. They seemed so long ago. They had always seemed too good to be true, as though he had been stealing shining hours from a normal person's life, a person without a lightning-shaped scar on his forehead.
Do you, William Arthur, take Fleur Isabel?
In the front row, Mrs. Weasley and Madame Delacour were both sobbing quietly into scraps of lace. Trumpet-like sounds came from the back of the marquee, told everyone that Hagrid had taken out one of his tablecloth-sized handkerchiefs. Hermione turned and beamed at Harry. Her eyes, too, were full of tears.
Then I declare you bonded for life.
The tufty-haired wizard waved his wand high over the heads of Bill and Fleur, and a shower of silver stars fell upon them, spiraling around their now entwined figures. As Fred and George led a round of applause, the golden balloons overhead burst, and birds of paradise and tiny gold bells flew and floated out of them, adding their songs and chimes to the din.
Ladies and gentlemen,
called the tufty-haired wizard.
if you would please
Stand up!
They all did so, Auntie Muriel grumbling audibly. He waved his wand again, and the seats on which they had been sitting rose gracefully into the air. As the canvas walls of the marquee vanished, so that they stood beneath a canopy supported by golden poles, with a glorious view of the sunlit orchard and surrounding countryside, next to a pool of molten golden spread from the center of the tent to form a gleaming dance floor. The hovering chairs grouped themselves around small white cloth tables, which all floated gracefully back to the earth around it, and the gold-jacketed band trooped toward the podium. Smooth, said Ron approvingly, as the waiters popped up on all sides, some bearing silver trays of pumpkin juice, butterbeer and fire whiskey, others tottering piles of tarts and sandwiches.
We should go and congratulate them,
said Hermione, standing on tiptoe to see the place where Bill and Fleur had vanished amid the crowd of well-wishers.
We'll have time to go later.
Shrugged Ron, snatching 3 butterbeers from a passing tray and handing one to Harry.
Hermione, cup hold, let's grab a table. Not there, nowhere near Muriel.
Ron led the way across the empty dance floor, glancing left and right. As he went, Harry felt sure that he was keeping an eye out for Crumb. By the time they'd reached the other side of the marquee, most of the tables were occupied, and the emptiest one was where Luna sat, alone.
You all right if we join you?
Asked Ron.
Oh, yes,
she said happily.
Daddy has gone to give Bill and Fleur our present.
What is it? A lifetime supply of Gertie roots? Asked Ron. Hermione aimed a kick at him under the table, but caught Harry instead. Eyes watering in pain, Harry lost track of the conversation for a few moments. The band had begun to play. Bill and Fleur took the dance floor first, to great applause, and after a while, Mr. Weasley led Madame Delacour onto the floor, followed by Mrs. Weasley and Fleur's father.
I like this song,
said Luna, swaying in time to the waltz-like tune, and a few seconds later, she stood up and glided onto the dance floor, where she revolved on the spot, quite alone, eyes closed and waving her arms.
She's great, isn't she?
Ron said admiringly.
Always good value.
But the smile vanished from his face at once. Victor Crumb had dropped into Luna's vacant seat. Hermione looked pleasurably flustered, but this time Crumb had not come to compliment her. With a scowl on his face, he said, "Who is that man in yellow?"
That's Xenophilius Lovegood. He's the father of a friend of ours,
said Ron. His pugnacious tone indicated that they were not about to laugh at Xenophilius, despite the clear provocation. "Come and dance," he added abruptly to Hermione. She looked taken aback, but pleased too, and got up. They vanished together onto the growing throng of the dance floor. Oh wait, that was Ron that said it. "Come and dance," he added abruptly to Hermione. She looked taken aback, but pleased too, and they got up. They vanished together into the growing throng on the dance floor. "Ah, they are together now," said Crumb, momentarily distracted.
Sort of,"
said Harry. "And who are you?" Crumb asked.
Barney Weasley."
They shook hands. "You, Barney. You know this man Lovegood well?"
"No, I only met him today. Why?"
Crumb glowered over the top of his drink, watching Xenophilius, who was chatting to several warlocks on the other side of the dance floor. "Because," said Crumb, "if he was not a guest of Fleur's, I would duel him here and now for wearing that filthy sign upon his chest."
"Sign?"
said Harry, looking over at Xenophilius too. The strange triangular eye was gleaming on his chest.
"But why? What's wrong with it?"
Grindelwald That is a sign of Grindelwald. Grindelwald? The dark wizard that Dumbledore defeated? Exactly. Crum's jaw muscles worked as if he were chewing, and then he said, Grindelwald killed many people. My grandfather, for instance. Of course, he was never powerful enough in this country. They said he feared Dumbledore, and rightly seeing how he was finished. But this... He pointed a finger at Xenophilius. This is the symbol. I recognized it at once. Grindelwald carved it into the wall at Durmstrang when he was pupil there. Some idiot copied it onto our books and clothes, thinking to shock, make themselves impressive, until those of us who had lost family members to Grindelwald taught them better. Crumb cracked his knuckles menacingly and glowered at Xenophilius. Harry felt perplexed. It seemed incredibly unlikely that Luna's father was a supporter of the dark arts, and nobody else in the camp seemed to have recognized the triangular rune-like shape. Are you, quite sure it's Grindelwald's? I am not mistaken, said Crumb coldly. I've walked past that sign for several years, I know it well. Well, there's a chance, said Harry, that Xenophilius doesn't actually know what the symbol means. The love gods are quite unusual. He could have easily picked it up somewhere and think it's a cross-section of a head and a crumple-horn snortsack or something. Cross-section of a what? Well, I don't know what they are, but apparently he and his daughter go on holiday looking for them. Harry felt he was doing a bad job of explaining Luna and her father. That's her, he said, pointing. That's her, he said, pointing at Luna, who was still dancing, waving her arms around her head, like someone attempting to beat off midgets. Why is she doing that? Asked Crumb. Probably to get rid of rack spots, said Harry, who recognized the symptoms. Crumb did not seem to know whether or not Harry was making fun of him. He drew his wand from inside his robes and tapped it menacingly on his thigh. Sparks grew out of the end. Grigorovich, said Harry loudly, and Crumb started, but Harry was too excited to care. The memory had come back to him at the sight of Crumb's wand, Ollivander taking it and examining it carefully before the Triwizard Tournament. What about him? Said Crumb suspiciously. He's a wand maker. I know that, said Crumb. He made your wand. That's why I thought Quidditch. Crumb was looking more and more suspicious. How do you know Grigorovich made my wand? I read it somewhere, I think, said Harry. In a fan magazine. He improvised wildly, and Crumb looked mollified. I had not realized I ever discussed my wand with my fans, he said. So, where is Grigorovich these days? Crumb looked puzzled. He retired several years ago. I was one of the last to purchase a Grigorovich wand. They are the best, although I know, of course, that you Britons set much store by Ollivander. Harry did not answer. He pretended to watch the dancers like Crumb. But he was thinking hard. Sir Voldemort was looking for a celebrated wand maker, and Harry did not have to search far for a reason. It was surely because of what Harry's wand had done that night that Voldemort had pursued him across the skies. The Holly and Phoenix Feather wands had conquered the Borrowed Wand. Something that Ollivander had not anticipated or understood. Would Grigorovich know better? Was he truly more skilled than Ollivander? Did he know secrets of wands that Ollivander did not? This girl is very nice looking, Crumb said, recalling Harry to his surroundings. Crumb was pointing at Ginny, who had just joined Luna. She is also a relative of yours? Yeah, said Harry, suddenly irritated. She's seeing someone. Jealous type, big bloke. Wouldn't want to cross him. Crumb grunted. What? He said, draining his goblet and getting to his feet. Is the point of being an international Quidditch player if all the good-looking girls are taken? It's a fair point. He strode off, leaving Harry to take a sandwich from a passing waiter and make his way around the edge of the crowded dance floor. He wanted to find Ron to tell him about Gregorovitch, but Ron was dancing with Hermione out in the middle of the floor. Harry leaned up against one of the golden pillars and watched Ginny, who was now dancing with Fred and George's friend Lee Jordan. Trying not to feel resentful about the promise he'd given Ron, he had never been to a wedding before, so he could not judge how wizarding celebrations differed from Muggle ones. Though he's pretty sure that the latter would not involve a wedding cake topped with 2 model phoenixes that took flight when the cake was cut, or bottles of champagne that floated unsupported through the crowd. As evening drew in, the moss began to swoop under the canopy, now lit with floating golden lanterns. The revelry became more and more uncontained. Fred and George had long since disappeared into the darkness with a pair of Flo's cousins, Charlie and Hagrid, and a squat wizard in a purple pork pie hat were singing Odo the Hero in a corner. Wandering through the crowd so as to escape a drunken uncle of Ron's who seemed unsure whether or not Harry was his son, Harry spotted an old wizard sitting alone at a table. His cloud of white hair made him look rather like an aged dandelion clock, as he was topped by a moth-eaten face. He was vaguely familiar. Racking his brains, Harry suddenly realized that this was Alpheus Dove, member of the Order of the Phoenix, and the writer of Dumbledore's obituary. Harry approached him.
May I sit down?
Course, said Doge, in a rather...
Course,
said Doge in a rather high-pitched, wheezy voice. Harry leaned in.
Mr. Doge, I'm Harry Potter.
Doge gasped.
Boy, Father told me we are disguised. So honored.
In a flutter of nervous pleasure, Doge poured Harry a goblet of champagne.
I thought of writing to you
He whispered.
after Dumbledore. Shock and for you, I'm sure.
Doge's eyes were tiny and filled with sudden tears.
I saw the obituary you wrote in the Daily Prophet, said Harry. I didn't realise you knew Professor Dumbledore so well.
Nate, thank you for the heartbeat. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. Tony, hello, welcome in. Hey, brother, how's life treating you? Long time no see. Been working a ton. Hey, working a ton is a blessing, mate. I'm glad to hear it. That's always wonderful. Can't be mad about it. Love Bear, thank you for the follow over on YouTube if you're here joining us for the reading. Is there anything that I missed that needs to be addressed? The awkwardness of Harry always sends me. Yeah. Mischievous, hello! You know the great thing about following you? Each time I see your stream, it reminds me to go and read something. Hey, that's a hell of a compliment. I'll take that. As long as you're remembering to exercise your brain, then I've done my job. And also, thank you for following. You followed the other day, Mish, and I'm glad that you did. And I hope that you'll enjoy your time here with us whenever you're able to drop in. Loki, hello, welcome in, my friend. So very glad you could join us. Grab your seat, fill your mug. Welcome, 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 friends. Alright, let's see. We still got quite a ways to go. Got about 5 pages left in this chapter. So let's get them buried, my friends. For anyone who is new or fresh in, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to hail a barkeep. They'll make sure that you stay entertained, and any questions you might have, please make sure that you don't hesitate to put them up. Castle is a true source of inspiration and kindness to both Elsie and me. You flatter me, Esther. I am but a humble storyteller doing what humble storytellers do, telling stories. I'm glad that it can be a source of anything for anyone, as long as it's not a source of grief. And even if it was, I'd probably still do it if I'm being honest. Alright. Back to reading, friends.
As well as anyone,
Said Doge, dabbing his eyes with a napkin.
certainly I knew him longest. If you don't count Aberforth, and somehow people never do seem to count Aberforth.
Speaking of the Daily Prophet, I don't know whether you saw Mr. Doge.
Please call me Alphias, dear boy.
Alphias, I don't know whether you saw the interview Rita Skeeter gave about Dumbledore.
Doge's face flooded with angry colour.
Yes, Harry, I saw it. That woman, vulture might be more accurate term, positively pestered me to talk to her. I'm ashamed to say that I became rather rude and called her an interfering trout.
Interfering trout is a wonderful insult. I'm not here to help, I'm here to terrorize guys. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Destiny. Interfering trout is a great insult. Kristalla, hello, and Key, hello, welcome in. I think I said hello to Key. I don't know if I said hello to Kristalla though. But hello, Kristalla, welcome in. I'm glad that you can make it in. As far as relatives go, it could be far worse. Fair enough, fair enough. And again, friends, if I miss anything that you say, please do not hesitate to just repost. Because I sometimes will miss things. I would like you all to be chatting. It means that the environment's good and that you're comfortable if you're chatting with your friends in the tavern. So please, chat away, and if I miss something, don't hesitate to repost it. Only grief here is Johnny had his tooth extracted yesterday. Oof, that is rough. Give him our love, and tell him to make sure that he's taking care of himself. Insults, you look like Rasputin, you smell like him too. I've been told. But Rasputin was the lover of the Russian queen, so I'll take it. The Romanovs were knockouts, and so is the lady of the tavern. Huh? No Rasputin? She says no Rasputin, sorry. He was gross. People say I look like him, I don't know why. The beard and the black tunic, huh? I was going to say, to be fair, the one who does my beard and dresses me is the lady of the tavern, so it's her fault I look this way. Yeah, no, we'll get so many comments from people who've not been here before, who will say, oh, you remind me of Rasputin because of the way that you talk, or because of just the general environment, I guess. I guess I give off brainwashing Romanovs to take over the Russian monarchy. I guess that's the vibe that I give off. But yeah, it irritates the ever-living hell out of her. She's like, no. No, absolutely not. Yeah, she was. Oh, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. To be fair, there is a visual similarity in our aesthetic. I'll give people that. But I most definitely don't resemble him as far as my looks go, I would say. Alright, let's continue. Where were we? We were interrupting Trout, right? Interfering Trout, right?
Called her an interfering trout, which resulted, as you may have seen, in aspersions cast upon my sanity.
Well, in that interview, Harry went on, Rita Skeeter hinted that Professor Dumbledore was involved in the dark arts when he was young.
Don't believe a word of it.
Said Doge at once.
Not a word, Harry. Let nothing tarnish your memories of Albus Dumbledore.
Harry looked into Doge's earnest, pained face and felt not reassured but frustrated. Did Doge really think that it was that easy, that Harry would simply choose to believe? Did Doge understand that Harry's need to be sure, to know everything? Perhaps Doge suspected Harry's feelings, for he looked concerned and hurried on.
Harry, Rita Skeeter is a dreadful...
But he was interrupted by a shrill cackle.
Rita Skeeter! Oh, I love her. Always read her.
Harry and Doze looked up to see Auntie Muriel standing there, with plumes dancing on her hat, a goblet of champagne in her hand.
She's written a book about Dumbledore, you know.
Muriel?
Said Doze.
Yes, we were just discussing.
You there! Give me your chair. I'm 107.
Another red-headed Weasley cousin jumped off his seat, looking alarmed, and Auntie Muriel swung it around with surprising strength, and plopped herself upon it between Doze and Harry.
Hello again, Barnberry, or whatever your name is.
She said to Harry.
Now, what are you saying about Rita Skeeter, Elphias? You know she's written a biography of Dumbledore. I can't wait to read it. I must remember to place an order at Flourish and Blots.
Doze looked stiff and solemn at this. But Auntie Muriel drained her goblet and clicked her bony fingers at a passing waiter for a replacement. She took another large gulp of champagne, belched, and then said,
There's no need to look like a pair of stuffed frogs. Before he became so respected and respectable and all that tosh, there were some mighty funny rumours about Albus.
Ill-informed sniping,
said Doze, turning radish-coloured again.
Would you would say that, Elphias?
Cackled Auntie Muriel.
I noticed you skated over the sticky patches in that obituary of yours.
I'm sorry you think so.
Said Doze more coldly still.
I assure you, I was writing from the heart.
Oh, when we all know you worship Dumbledore, I dare say you still think he was a saint, even if it does turn out that he did away with his squib sister.
Muriel!
Exclaimed Doze. A chill that had nothing to do with the ice champagne was stealing through Harry's chest.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
He asked Muriel.
Who said his sister was a squib? She was ill.
You thought her wrong then, didn't you, Berry?
Said Auntie Muriel, looking delighted at the effect she had produced.
Anyway, how could you expect to know anything about it? It all happened years and years before you were even thought of, my dear. And the truth is that those of us who were alive then never knew what really happened. That's why I can't wait to find out what Skeeter's unearthed. Dumbledore kept his sister of his quiet for a long time.
True.
Wheezed Doze.
Absolutely untrue.
He never told me his sister was a squib, said Harry without thinking, still cold inside.
And why on earth would he tell you?
Screeched Muriel, swaying a little in her seat as she attempted to focus upon Harry.
Reason Albus never spoke of Ariana
Began Elphias in a voice stiff with emotion.
is, I should have thought quite clear. He was so devastated by her death.
Why did nobody ever see her, Elphias?
Squeaked Muriel.
Why did half of us never even know that she existed until they carried the coffin out of the house and held a funeral for her? Where was saintly Albus while Ariana was locked in the cellar, off being brilliant at Hogwarts, and never mind what was going on in his own house?
What do you mean, locked in the cellar? Asked Harry. What is this? Doge looked wretched. Auntie Muriel cackled again and answered Harry.
Dumbledore's mother was a terrifying woman, simply terrifying, muggle-born, though I heard she pretended otherwise. She never pretended.
She never pretended anything of the sort. Kendra was a fine woman.
Whispered Doge miserably, but Auntie Muriel ignored him.
Proud and very domineering, the sort of witch who would have been mortified to produce a squib.
Henrietta was not a squib.
wheezed Doge.
So you say, Elphias, but explain then why she never attended Hogwarts.
said Auntie Muriel. She turned back to Harry.
In our days, squibs were often hushed up, thought to take it to the extreme of imprisoning a little girl in the house and pretending she didn't exist.
I tell you, that's not what happened.
said Doge, but Auntie Muriel steamrolled on, still addressing Harry.
Squibs were usually shipped off to Muggle schools and encouraged to integrate into the Muggle community. Much kinder than trying to find them a place in the wizarding world, where they must always be second class. But naturally, Kendra Dumbledore wouldn't have dreamed of letting her daughter go to a Muggle school.
Hannah was delicate.
said Doge desperately.
Her health was always too poor to permit her.
To permit her to leave the house?
Cackled Muriel.
And yet, she was never taken to St. Mungo's, and no healer was ever summoned to see her.
Really, Muriel? How can you possibly know whether...
For your information, Elphias, my cousin Lancelot was a healer at St. Mungo's at the time, and he told my family in strictest confidence that Ariana had never been seen there. Almost suspicious, Lancelot thought.
Doge looked to be on the verge of tears. Auntie Muriel, who seemed to be enjoying herself hugely, snapped her fingers for more champagne. Numbly, Harry thought of how the Dursleys had once shut him up, locked him away, kept him out of sight, all for the crime of being a wizard. Had Dumbledore's sister suffered the same fate, but in reverse, imprisoned for her lack of magic? And had Dumbledore truly left her to her fate, while he went off to Hogwarts to prove himself brilliant and talented?
Now, if Kendra hadn't died first,
Muriel resumed.
I'd have said that it was she who finished off Ariana.
How can you, Muriel?
groaned Doge.
A mother kill her own daughter? Think what you're saying.
If the mother in question was capable of imprisoning her daughter for years on end, why not?
Shrugged Auntie Muriel.
But as I say, it doesn't fit because Kendra died before Ariana. Of what nobody ever seemed sure.
Oh, no doubt Ariana murdered her.
Said Doge with a brave attempt at scorn.
Why not?
Yes, Ariana might have made a desperate bid for freedom and killed Kendra in the struggle.
Said Auntie Muriel thoughtfully.
Shake your head all you like, Elphias. You were at Ariana's funeral, were you not?
Yes, I was.
Said Doge through trembling lips.
And a more desperately sad occasion I cannot remember. Albus was heartbroken.
His heart wasn't the only thing. Didn't Aberforth break Albus's nose halfway through the service?
If Doge had looked horrified before this, it was nothing to how he looked now. Muriel might have stabbed him. She cackled loudly and took another swig of champagne, which dribbled down her chin.
How do you?
Croaked Doge.
My mother was a friend of old Matilda Bagshot.
Said Auntie Muriel, happily.
Matilda described the whole thing to my mother whilst I was listening at the door. Cobbonside brawl. It was the way Matilda told it. Aberforth shouted that it was all Albus's fault, that Ariana was dead, and then punched him in the face. According to Matilda, Albus did not even defend himself. And that's odd enough in itself. Albus could have destroyed Aberforth in a duel with both hands tied behind his back.
Muriel swigged yet more champagne. The recitation of these old scandals seemed to elate her as much as they had horrified Doge. Harry did not know what to think, what to believe. He wanted the truth, and yet all Doge did was sit there and bleat feebly that Ariana had been ill. Harry could hardly believe that Dumbledore would not have intervened if such a cruelty had happened inside his own house. And yet there was undoubtedly something odd about the story.
And I'll tell you something else.
Muriel said, hiccuping slightly. as she lowered her goblet.
I think Matilda has spilled the beans to Rita Skeeter. All those hints in Skeeter's interview about important source close to the Dumbledores. Goodness knows she was there through all of Ariana's busyness, and it would fit.
Matilda would never talk to Rita Skeeter,
Whispered Doge.
Matilda Bagshaw,
Harry said. The author of A History of Magic. The name was printed on the front of one of Harry's textbooks, though admittedly not one of the ones he'd read most attentively.
Yes,
Said Doge, catching Harry's question like a drowning man at a lifeboat.
most gifted mystical historian, and an old friend of Albus's.
quite a gaga these days, I've heard.
Said Auntie Muriel cheerfully.
If it is so, it is even more dishonourable for Skeeter to have taken advantage of her,
Said Doge.
and no reliance can be placed on anything Matilda may have said.
Oh, there are ways to bring back memories, and I'm sure Rita Skeeter knows them all.
Said Auntie Muriel.
But even if Matilda's completely cuckoo, I'm sure she'd still have old photographs, maybe even letters. She knew the Dumbledores for years. Well worth a trip to Godric's Hollow, I'd have thought.
Harry, who'd been taking a sip of butterbeer, choked. Doge banged him on the back, and Harry coughed, looking at Auntie Muriel through streaming eyes. Once he had his voice again, he asked,
Matilda Bagshot lives in Godric's Hollow. Oh, yes. She's been there forever. The Dumbledores moved there after Percival was imprisoned. And she was their neighbour.
The Dumbledores lived in Godric's Hollow.
Yes, Harry. That's what I've said.
Auntie Muriel said testily. Harry felt drained, empty. Never once in 6 years had Dumbledore told Harry that they had lived, both, and lost loved ones in Godric's Hollow. Why? Were Lily and James buried close to Dumbledore's mother and sister? Had Dumbledore visited their graves, perhaps walked past Lily and James's to do so? And he had never once told Harry, never bothered to say. And why was it so important? Harry could not explain, even to himself, yet he felt it had been tantamount to a lie not to tell him they had this place and these experiences in common. He stared ahead of him, barely noticing what was going on around him, and did not realize that Hermione had appeared out of the crowd until she drew up a chair beside him.
I simply cannot dance any more.
She panted, slipping off her shoes and rubbing the soles of her foot.
Ron's gone looking for some more butterbeers. And it's a bit odd. I've just seen Victor storming away from Luna's father. It looked as if they'd been arguing.
She dropped her voice, staring at him.
Harry, are you okay?
Harry did not know where to begin, but it did not matter. At that moment, something large and silver came falling through the canopy over the dance floor. Graceful and gleaming, the lynx had landed lightly in the middle of the astonished dancers. The Patronus's mouth had opened wide, and it spoke in a loud, slow, deep voice of Kingsley Shacklebolt.
The Ministry has fallen. Scrimgeour is dead. They are coming.
And so ends Chapter 8 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, my friends. Jared, hello, welcome in. Hello, Council, can't stay, but I have to head to bed, and I wanted to say hello and good night. Good night to you, my friend. I'm glad that you dropped in to say hello. My friend would love this stream so much, but she doesn't have TikTok or the internet. Without parental control, I meant to say. And she also doesn't do links well. Well, hopefully you can share some of it after the fact with your friend. I appreciate you. A beacon for a source. Hello and welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. Let's see. What do you do? What do you do before streaming? Oh, what did you do before streaming? I see. That's true. I was just getting into the story. It's such a shame it had to end. But that was such a captivating tale. I'm glad that you enjoyed. Heather, hello, welcome in. So very, very glad that you could join us. Yes. How about, I've never read this particular book before. A Beacon for the Source. Actually, thank you for the follow. I didn't realize you followed over on TikTok. Thank you. You've marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back again. Yes. The whole reason why I do storytelling videos and why I do these story times and welcome you all into the tavern is because the lady of the tavern insisted that I do so. Strongly suggested. Bullied, yes. I don't know if we're allowed to say bullying on TikTok or not, but that my brother gave me before he had to go to college. Oh, that's neat. So your brother passed his books down to you when you were done. I read all the way up to book 6 back when these first came out. And I did not like book 6, so I never read book 7. And strongly suggested, yes. It was strongly implied that this should be done. But yes, I... highly motivated, correct. I didn't read the 7th book back then, so this is actually my first time ever reading through the book, and I've never seen the films either. I didn't watch the 2 films that went along with the 7th book either. So, alright, let's see. We are on with chapter 9, so 108. Let's see. The next chapter's not terribly long. I think we could probably squeeze in another chapter if you guys are so fancy to do so. Do we want another chapter, friends? Esther says, well done, Una. Listening to Cass's storytelling is truly a privilege. A journey into captivating tales. So bullied, yes. I mean, that's the cleanest way possible, no innuendo intended. Matty, I don't have nearly the dirty mind that you do, so I don't see innuendo in that. I need to know if you continue it or not. You know we do. How often do we say, I'm just, look, so you might all have to go to a same place. You know. You might all have somewhere to go. Yeah, so, okay, it seems like the general consensus is, let's read more. Alright, we'll do one more chapter. I don't even think I need to take a break, because we only got 9 more pages. So real quick, we'll take like a 3-minute break where I'll run ads, and then we'll, Bobby needs to get to bed. Alright, let's, I'll run 3 minutes of ads for our friends over on Twitch. That'll be I'll just sit here, I don't need to get up. For a break, and then when those 3 minutes are up, we'll start chapter 9. So it's a quick break, everybody. Go ahead, go get your snacks, refill your drinks, anything of the like. Anything to keep my brother's love for this book alive. Spectacular. Thank you, Cindy, I appreciate you. Yeah, for everyone who likes and shares while my head is down, I appreciate you. Wait, did we already run ads? It'd be weird if... Did ads run at some point, friends? No, they didn't. Alright, it started. Your storytelling's worth saying up for. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you. Raven, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. You have marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back. The next time you seek a story. Now they are. Okay. Wait up. Whilst on Storytime, I always drink 2 pots, hydrogen, 1 pot, oxygen. Water. Always. But yeah, for all of you who like and share the story time with other folk, it means the world to us. And I appreciate that you love what we do so much that you want to share our stories with those who you love. Do your rings have stories? So these ones, not particularly. These are ones that were gifted to me. Some of them were gifted by my mother before she passed. I had a series of adornments that were one over the course of my adulthood trials and growing up. My grandfather's family is a very old family in Ireland where I grew up. I grew up in Southern Ireland. Back here for a few minutes while the ads run off on Twitch. Excellent, Esther. I appreciate you. I grew up in Ireland with a very old-fashioned storytelling family. My grandfather's family, they have a very unique set of traditions, and as we grow into adults, we go through adulthood trials, and we gain adornments, which are things like hair decorations, rings, necklaces, arm rings, and so on. I had a collection of about 25 adornments that I had won during festivals or earned during my adulthood trials, as well as my filia. And those were all stolen from my parents' house after I moved back to the United States. My parents' house was robbed, and all of my adornments were stolen, all but a few were stolen. Kelsey, hello, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. I still have a couple of them. I still have the hammer that my uncle made for me. It's all worn down from age, but I have that. But the chain that I have is one that was gotten for me by my mother, because she wanted to replace a bunch of the things that were stolen, and by tradition, you can't wear an adornment that you didn't earn. So technically speaking, I shouldn't wear any of these. But they were given to me by my mother before she died, and I never wore them while she was alive. And I decided that I would wear them in honor of her. This one's broken at the moment, the ring is broken, but she bought me this chain. She bought me this Skull and Haughty ring. She bought me this Mjolnir hammer. This one's very similar to one that my uncle made me, which is why she got it. This is a... I'm not going to flip anybody off, but this ring is a... Oh, I was showing the wrong camera, sorry. Yeah, it's TikTok and that's it. This is a Swordworm ring. It's an Infinity Dragon. And then this is a Runic Tree of Life ring. These are similar to ones I had before, but they're not exact. And then this is my Clada that I wear for the Lady of the Tavern. And then this one is a silver dragon ring, sea dragon ring, that was gifted to me by Carson Yeager the last time he came to visit. So there are stories behind them, but they're not quite as old as some of the original ones. But the Thor's hammer, the Mjolnir, these are won for feats of strength during festivals. And I got my hammer was gifted to me by my uncle when I was the strongest amongst the boys during a Lunesa festival. And this one was during a Yuletide Games festival. No, so not this one specifically, this is the one my mother got to replace it after the ones were stolen, but Mom's gifts are meant to be worn regardless of... Yes, and that's true, but we are very strict about the way we decorate ourselves. We try not to be too lavish, and we try to only wear things that we've earned. We don't get tattoos or scar our body unless it is for honor or for dishonor. It's a very old and in-depth tradition that we all follow fairly strictly. But when my mother passed, I decided that in remembrance and honor of her, I would allow these to be stand-ins for my adornments that went missing. And then the reason why the dragon on the Infinity Ring, and the reason why Jaeger got me this ring, is because in my family we have an old folklore. The reason why we're called the Black Dragon Tavern is because there's a story in my family about one of our ancestors who was cursed to be a sea dragon, a black and green sea dragon. So our clan colors are black and green, and that's why the lady also had this tankard made for me, because it has a sea dragon as the handle. And our family has a lot of symbolism and metaphorism around trees in the different things that we teach and talk about. So here you can see a tree of life, and then on this side there is an Yggdrasil, and you can tell it's Yggdrasil because it has a cosmos hanging from the branches. So that's the story behind those. I have tattoos that honor my father and celebrate the coming clan. It's wonderful, Esther. Honor and shame are too lacking in modern life. Most don't understand honor anymore. I agree, Keith, I agree. And our way of life is strange to people because it is very old-fashioned, it was very traditional, and we do have some odd things that are very unique to our family's culture, because we've literally had a storytelling tradition that has been handed down through generations for over 100 generations. My grandfather's family traced their lines directly to the oldest Shonki and Shonki druids of Ireland. That's awesome, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed, Katie. I know it's a bit long-winded there, but I hope I was concise enough that it all made sense. Sword Talk, hello, it's good to see you. Please tell me you also do storytelling of Coraline and it. I certainly can. Everybody gets to vote on the books that we read. So I will read any books that you all request. What Ashley is talking about is my family has a very unique way that we celebrate the different festivals of the year. So I put together a little handbook for anybody who is interested in celebrating the way that my family does. And that's over in the tavern shop if anybody's interested in looking at it. So, by the book, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you. Since Bear's not in, you're hawking the books for him, huh? We have old-fashioned traditions that go back to the 1700s. Well, those are still old traditions. I only have one tattoo, a jellyfish. It's very symbolic of my life. So, this is how committed we are. This might make some people lose their opinions of me. But when I was a young man, I love your little handbook, Cass. I'm glad, Esther. I'm glad you like it. Ads are done over on Twitch, friends, so we'll start back reading here in a second. When I was a young man, I was in a less than reputable group that did less than reputable things. I don't know what I could say on TikTok without getting banned, but I was in a less than reputable group that did less than reputable things, and people very often got hurt in the course of those less than reputable things. And people who end up in those kinds of groups often get tattoos. I went through 7.5 years being in that sort of environment, and through it all I never once got a tattoo. That's how important that particular aspect of this tradition is to me and to all of us. I have several family members who joined the military, never got a tattoo while they were in the military. Bar and I are the book mafia in the tavern. Yes, indeed, Ashley. Yes, indeed. Our family crest is an oak tree. Well, the old practices of Ireland believed that the original Irish inhabitants were born of trees. The word druid means men who speak to or men who understand the trees. Because it was believed that our ancestors came from trees, and that when they died, they returned to trees. And that's where knock on wood comes from. It's a way of raising or awakening your ancestors' spirits. But yes, so through all of that, I have no tattoos now. But when our fathers pass, the eldest sons, we get our family trees tattooed on our backs, and any major events that happen during our lifetime, we record them on our trees. And then those trees get handed down to our eldest sons, and so on and so on. So, of course, Keeson, of course, it's my pleasure. A pleasure and privilege, as a matter of fact. Oh no, that's fascinating, Cass. I'm glad you enjoy, Esther. I'm glad you enjoy. I only got the tattoo to remind myself I'm resilient. Yeah, and I don't expect anybody to follow our families, our clans' traditions. It's just talking about it because it came up. I'm sure the tradition for Mjolnir is the same. It has to be gifted. You're not supposed to get your own. Exactly. We're not allowed to take any symbols onto ourselves. They have to be given to us by our elders. So that's been the way that our family's handled things for a very long time. The rule of tattoos is the same with my grandmother. She held my hand when I got my memorial tattoo for my husband. That's beautiful, Heather. That's beautiful. Yeah, I should have a tattoo. That I should have my father's tree on my back, which is why my hair stays shaved as well. Our hair is representative of our family tree, and when our parents pass away, the eldest son gets the sides shaved, and they stay shaved for the rest of our lives. And then we cut our hair 3 times throughout our life. Once when we become, providing we never commit any great dishonor. Once when we become adults, when we go through our final adulthood trials, we cut our hair. And then when our parents pass, sections of our hair are buried or burned with our parents. And then when we get married, a section of our hair is given to our intended. I have 2 tattoos while in the Navy, a snake wrapped around, a sword with flowers, and a green dragon with an orb. Sounds absolutely wicked, Bobby. Alright, let's go ahead and get back into story time, my friends. I hope I didn't bore anyone with family traditions. Alright, I'm gonna top off my H2O over here. Mike, thank you for the heart puff, my friend. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Thank you for the live and the rose and the you're awesome and the heart me. Cheers, my friend. Thank you kindly. Joe Mama, I don't know what language that is, but I can't read it. You're not boring anybody, but thank you, Ashley. I'm glad. Where is everyone from, says Short Hawk? I am from New Zealand. New Zealand is our resident Kiwi. I don't know if we have any other Kiwis here, actually. I've never been a fan of tattoos on the arm, but I must say mine are done with taste. My father believes that for women it's more elegant to have tattoos on the legs or inside of the arms, places that can be easily hidden, and we prefer to keep them private, yet still be shown off if we choose. It's interesting, Esther. Very interesting. Nope, like to hear your story. Well, I'm glad, Bobby. I'm glad. So in a way, when you have the tree tattooed symbolic of your family having your back, in a way, yes, it's showing that there are thousands of people and hundreds of generations behind you. You have been pushed to where you are by the blood and the lineage that brought you to where you are. And we carry that on our backs like a burden. Not because it is too heavy to carry, but because whether we like it or not, it's already on our shoulders. And the hair represents a shield. We stop cutting our hair when we become adults, and that hair represents a shield. And the only time that we cut our hair is when a portion of that shield has to be recognized. During dishonor. When our parents pass, we cut off the part of the shield that is representative of them, and it gets buried or burned with our family, with our parents, representing the part of the shield that they represented no longer being there. And then when we marry, our partner gets, or our significant other gets a portion of our hair, braided portion of our hair. And that braided portion of hair is representative of the shield that we now share in defending and protecting our family. Mike is from USA, Florida. I always planned on getting a tattoo, but I wanted it to have a story like you're telling. Well, and again, these are our family traditions, but anybody who wants to understand and take them on, you can. Or even if you just like portions of them. As long as you do it respectfully, and you don't even necessarily have to do it respectfully. I think you should always try to respect any tradition when you take part in it. But I don't think that that's mandatory. It's too much to try and control people that way. The tradition in my family was that the sons inherit a knife from the father. I was the first daughter to receive a knife. My father spent 3 days teaching me how to care for it. That's beautiful, Key. That knife is still sharp enough to cut the wind at 45 after 45 years. Now, what a spectacular thing. Now, my parents didn't participate in the traditions, or else I would have had familial household things that would have been passed on to me. But my parents didn't upkeep the traditions. My grandfather did. Bless you, my love. Okay, alright. Let's go ahead and get back into stories. We've got 9 pages to get through before the end of the night. I'm surprised Bear hasn't dropped in. He must be out on an errand. Matty says, bless you. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you, love. Chapter 9 of Harry Potter in the Deathly Hallows. A place to hide. Everything seemed fuzzy, slow. Harry and Hermione jumped to their feet and drew their wands. Many people were only just realizing something strange had happened. Heads were still turning towards the silver cat as it vanished. Silence spread outwards in cold ripples from the place where the Patronus had landed. Then somebody screamed. Harry and Hermione threw themselves into the panicking crowd. Guests were sprinting in all directions. Many were disapparating. The protective enchantments around the burrow had broken.
Ron!
Cried Hermione.
Ron, where are you?
As they pushed their way across the dance floor, Harry saw cloaked and masked figures appearing in the crowd. Then he saw Lupin and Tonks, their wands raised, and heard both of them shout, Protego! A cry that was echoed on all sides.
Ron! Ron!
Hermione called, half sobbing, as she and Harry were buffeted by terrified guests. Harry seized her hand to make sure that they weren't separated, as a streak of light whizzed over their heads. Whether a protective charm or something more sinister, he did not know. And then Ron was there. He got hold of Hermione's free arm, and Harry felt her turn on the spot. The sight and sound were extinguished as darkness pressed upon him. All he could feel was Hermione's hand, and he was squeezed through space and time. Away from the burrow, away from the descending Death Eaters, away, perhaps, from Voldemort himself. Where are we? Said Ron's voice. Harry opened his eyes. For a moment, he thought they had not left the wedding after all. They still seemed to be surrounded by people.
Tottenham Court Road.
Panted Hermione.
Walk. Just walk. We need to find somewhere for you to change.
Harry did as she asked. They half walked, half ran up the wide, dark street, thronged with late-night revelers that lined the closed shops, stars twinkling above them. A double-decker bus rumbled by, and a group of merry pub-goers ogled them as they passed. Harry and Ron were still wearing dress robes.
Hermione, we haven't got anything to change into.
Ron told her as a young woman burst into raucous giggles at the sight of them.
Why didn't I make sure that I had the invisibility cloak with me?
Said Harry, inwardly cursing his own stupidity.
All last year I kept it on me, and it's okay. I've got the cloak. I've got clothes for both of you.
Said Hermione.
Just try to act naturally until this will do.
She led them down a side street and then into a shelter of a shadowy alley.
When you say you've got the cloak and clothes,
said Harry, frowning at Hermione, who was carrying nothing except for a small beaded handbag, in which she was now rummaging.
Yes, they're here,
said Hermione. To Harry and Ron's utter astonishment, she pulled out a pair of jeans, a sweatshirt, some maroon socks, and finally a silvery invisibility cloak.
How in the roddy hell? Undetectable extension charm,
said Hermione.
Tricky, but I think I've done it okay. Anyways, I managed to fit everything we need in here.
She gave the fragile-looking bag a little shake, and it echoed like a cargo hold was as a number of heavy objects rolled around inside.
Oh, damn. That'll be the books,
She said, peering into it.
I had them all stacked by subject. Oh well. Harry, you'd better take the invisibility cloak. Ron, hurry up and change. When did you do all this?
Harry asked as Ron stripped off his robes.
I told you at the Burrow. I had the essentials packed for days, you know, in case we needed to make a quick getaway. I packed your rucksack this morning, Harry, after you changed, and put it in here. I just had a feeling. You're amazing, you are,
said Ron, handing her his bundled up robes.
Thank you,
She said, managing a small smile as she pushed the robes into the bag.
Please, Harry, get that cloak on.
Harry threw the invisibility cloak around his shoulders and pulled it up over his head, vanishing from sight. He was only just beginning to appreciate what had happened.
The others, everyone at the wedding. We can't worry about that now,
whispered Hermione.
It's you they're after, Harry. And we'll just put everyone in more danger by going back.
She's right, said Ron, who seemed to know that Harry was about to argue even if he could not see his face. Most of the order was there. They'll look after everyone. Harry nodded, then remembered that they could not see him and said, yeah. But he thought about Ginny, and fear bubbled like acid in his stomach.
Come on. I think we ought to keep moving.
They moved back up the side street and into the main road, where a group of men on the opposite side was singing and weaving across the pavement. We got a raid? Arthur Christie, hello and welcome in. Come in from the cold, friends. Gather in the tavern. Sit, sit, sit. Grab a glass, fill it with your favorite drink. It is story time. Welcome, Arthur Christie. What were you all doing today? I'm going to give you a toot on the raid horn here. Give me just a second. The Badgers have raided. Welcome, welcome. Badger as much as you like. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Thank you for the shout out, Ross. I appreciate you. I did a bit of writing and I'm live reading my first novel. The Heiress of Soul. Ooh, very interesting. Refrick, hello! So just realised I'm playing Hogwarts on Xbox and listening to you. So I've got my initials on my forearm. And I have them, my dad had them, my grandfather had them. My granddad got so drunk when he got in the Navy he couldn't remember his own name to get back on the ship, so he got his initials tattooed. That's very funny. That's very funny, Refrick. A wonderful tradition. I told chat that my novel takes place in an Anglo-Saxon era. So who better to raid than someone who will give us the Viking horn greeting? That's a hell of a thing, that. Get yourself some Viking raspberries. I love that raspberry Viking. Best greeting on Twitch I have had yet. Oh, you flatter me. So very glad that you enjoyed, Rebecca. Well, again, grab your seats. Thank you for the raid. Settle in. Fill a glass. Arthur, Christy. I don't know why I called you Arthur. Christy, if you need to run off, please feel free. If you're planning to stay for some story time, we've got about another hour that we'll be telling stories. We are on chapter 9 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And if you need to run off, please do. But if you're planning to stay, grab a seat, fill it. I do have to go to sleep feeling under the weather. Go rest then. Make sure you hydrate. Make sure you get yourself some soup or something on the morrow. Eat some warm porridge perhaps. And make sure that you rest well and take care of yourself. Thank you for bringing your friends and community here. I will take good care of them. We'll make sure that they are not on the dry. And we'll send them all off to bed with song and story. So rest well and thank you kindly for being here. And to all of Christie's community, take a seat, settle in, and we'll get back into the story. An angel and a cross are the two I have. Do you have them together or two separate tattoos, Nate? It's very interesting. I've seen some very interesting cross tattoos. Some of them are very well done. My father actually had a dove tattooed on his arm. Two separate, I see. And my brother actually got my dad's dove tattoo on his arm. Oh, a recommended audiobook, The Treasure of Boneyard Bay. I'll give it a look, briefly. She usually warns you not to feed us after midnight or we go a little wild. Since we didn't say that, does that mean we can go out? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You'll find that gremlins and goblins are commonplace here in the tavern. As a matter of fact, our primary populace are goblins and gremlins, if we're being perfectly honest. See, yeah, Matty popped up. Goblin King there. Goblin King Chatty Matty. Alright, let's continue. I'll pop my head back up here in a minute. Yeah, for more chat, my friends. Just as a matter of interest, why Tottenham Court Road? Ron asked Hermione.
I've no idea. It just popped into my head. But I'm sure we're safer out here in the Muggle world, and it's not where they'll expect us to be.
True, said Ron, looking around.
But don't you feel a bit exposed? Where else is there?
Asked Hermione, cringing as the men on the other side of the road started wolf whistling at her.
We can hardly book rooms at the Leaky Cauldron, can we? And Grimmauld Place is out if Snape can get in there. I suppose we could try my parents' house, though I think there's a chance they might check there. Oh, I wish they'd shut up.
All right there, darling. The drunkest man on the pavement was yelling. Fancy a drink? Ditch the ginger and come have a pint.
Let's sit down somewhere,
Hermione said hastily as Ron opened his mouth to shout back across the road.
Look, this will do, in here.
It was a small, shabby, all-night cafe. The light layer of grease lay on all the formica tabletops, but it was at least empty. Harry slipped into a booth first, and Ron sat next to him opposite Hermione, who had her back to the entrance, and did not like it. She glanced over her shoulder frequently. She appeared to have a twitch. Harry did not like being stationary. Walking had given the illusion that they had a goal. Beneath the cloak, he could feel the last vestiges of Polyjuice leaving him, his hands returning to their usual length and shape. He pulled his glasses out of his pocket and put them on again. After a minute or two, Ron said, No, we're not far from the Leaky Cauldron here. It's only in Charing Cross.
Ron, we can't,
said Hermione at once.
Not to stay there, but to find out what's going on. We know what's going on. Voldemort's taken over the Ministry. What else do we need to know?
Okay, it was just an idea. They relapsed into a prickly silence. The gum-ring waitress shuffled over to Hermione, and she ordered 2 cappuccinos. As Harry was invisible, it would have looked odd for him to order one. A pair of burly workmen entered the cafe and squeezed into the next booth. Hermione dropped her voice to a whisper.
I say we find a quiet place to disapparate and head to the countryside. Once we're there, we could send a message to the Order.
Can you do that talking Patronus thing then? Asked Ron.
I've been practicing, and I think so,
said Hermione. Well, as long as it doesn't get them into trouble, though they might have been arrested already. God, that's revolting. Ron added, after taking one sip of the foamy greyish coffee. The waitress had heard. She shot Ron a nasty look as she shuffled off to take a new customer's order. The larger of the two workmen was blond and quite huge. Now that Harry came to look at him, waved at her, she stared affronted.
Let's get going. I don't want to drink this much, said Ron. Hermione, have you got muggle money to pay for this? Yes, I took out all my building society savings before I came to the Burrow. I bet all the change is at the bottom,
sighed Hermione, reaching into her beaded bag. Two workmen made identical movements, and Harry mirrored them without conscious thought. All three of them drew their wands. Ron, a few seconds late in realizing what was going on, lunged across the table, pushing Hermione sideways into her bench. The force of the Death Eater's spells shattered the tile where Ron's head had just been, as Harry, still invisible, yelled, "Stupefy!" The great blonde Death Eater was hit in the face with a jet of red light. He slumped sideways, unconscious. His companion, unable to see who had cast the spell, fired another shot at Ron. Shining black ropes flew from his wand tips and bound Ron head to foot. The waiter screamed and ran for the door. Harry sent another stunning spell at the Death Eater with a twisted face, who had tied up Ron, but the spell missed and rebounded on the window, and hit the waitress, who collapsed in front of the door. "Expulso!" bellowed the Death Eater, and the table behind which Harry was standing blew up. The force of the explosion slammed him into the wall, and he felt his wand leave his hand and the cloak slip off of him.
"Petrificus totalis!"
screamed Hermione. From out of sight, the Death Eater fell to the floor like a statue, to land with a crunching thud and a mess of broken china and table and coffee. Hermione crawled out from underneath the bench, shaking bits of glass ashtray out of her hair and trembling all over.
"Defendo,"
she said, pointing her wand at Ron, who roared in pain as she slashed open the knee of his jeans, leaving a deep cut.
"Oh, I'm sorry, Ron. My hand is shaking. Defendo."
The severed ropes fell away, and Ron got to his feet, shaking his arms to regain feeling in them. Harry picked up his wand and climbed over all the debris to where the large blonde Death Eater was sprawled across the bench.
"I should have recognized him. He was there the night Dumbledore died,"
he said. He turned over the darker Death Eater with his foot. The man's eyes moved rapidly between Harry and Ron and Hermione.
"That's Dolohov," said Ron. "I recognize him from the old wanted posters. I think the big one's Thorfinn Roll."
Never mind
what they're called,"
Hermione said a little hysterically.
"How did they find us? What are we going to do?"
Somehow her panic seemed to clear Harry's head.
"Lock the door," he told her. "And Ron, turn out the lights."
He looked down at the paralyzed Dolohov, thinking as fast as the clock clicked, and Ron used the deluminator to plunge the cafe into darkness. Harry could hear the men who had jeered Hermione earlier yelling at another girl in the distance.
"What are you going to do with them?"
Ron whispered to Harry through the dark, then even more quietly.
"Kill them? They'd kill us. They had a good go just now."
Hermione shuddered and took a step backwards. Harry shook his head.
"We just need to wipe the memories," said Harry. "It's better like that. It'll throw them off the scent. If we kill them, it'd be obvious we were here."
"You're the boss," said Ron, sounding profoundly relieved.
"But I've never done a memory charm." "Nor have I," said Hermione. "But I know the theory."
She took a deep, calming breath and pointed her wand at Dolohov's forehead and said,
"Obliviate."
At once, Dolohov's eyes became unfocused and dreamy.
"Brother," said Harry, clapping her on the back, "take care of the other one. and the waitress while Ron and I clear up.
Clear up? Said Ron, looking around at the partly destroyed cafe.
Why? Don't you think they might wonder what's happened if they wake up and find themselves in a place that looks like it's just been bombed?
Oh, right, yeah. Ron struggled for a moment before managing to extract his wand from his pocket.
It's no wonder I can't get it out, Hermione. You packed my old jeans, they're tight. Oh, I'm so sorry,
said Hermione as she dragged the waitress out of sight of the window. Harry heard her mutter a suggestion as to where Ron could stick his wand instead. Once the cafe was restored to its previous condition, they heaved the Death Eaters back into their booth and propped them up facing each other.
But how did they find us?
Hermione asked, looking from one inert man to the other.
How did they know we were here?
She turned to Harry.
You don't think you've still got your trace on you, do you, Harry?
It can't have, said Ron. A trace breaks at 17. That's wizarding law. You can't put it on an adult.
As far as you know,
said Hermione.
What if the Death Eaters found a way to put it on a 17-year-old?
But Harry hasn't been near a Death Eater in the last 24 hours. Who's supposed to put the trace back on him? Hermione did not reply. Harry felt contaminated, tainted. Was that really how the Death Eaters had found him?
If I can't use magic, then you can't use magic near me without giving away our position, he began. We're not splitting up, said Hermione firmly. We need to find a safe place to hide, said Ron. Give us time to think things through. Grimmauld Place, said Harry.
They're the two gates.
Don't be silly, Harry. Snape can get in there. Ron's dad said they've put up jinxes against him, and even if they haven't worked,
he pressed on as Hermione began to argue.
So what? I swear I'd like nothing better than to meet Snape. But, Hermione, where else is there? It's the best chance we've got. Snape's only one Death Eater. If I've still got the trace on me, we have a whole crowds of them on us wherever we go.
She could not argue, though she looked as though she would have liked to. While she unlocked the cafe door, Ron clicked the deluminator to release the cafe's light. Then, on Harry's count of 3, they reversed the spells upon their 3 victims, and before the waitress or either of the Death Eaters could do more than stir sleepily, Harry, Ron, and Hermione had turned on the spot and vanished into the compressing darkness once more. Seconds later, Harry's lungs expanded gratefully, and he opened his eyes. They were now standing in the middle of a familiar small and shabby square. Tall, dilapidated houses looked down on them from every side. Number 12 was visible to them, for they had been told of its existence by Dumbledore, the secret keeper, and they rushed towards it, checking every few yards that they were not being followed or observed. They raced up the stone steps, and Harry tapped the front door once with his wand. They heard a series of metallic clicks and the clatter of a chain. Then the door swung open with a creak, and they hurried over the threshold. As Harry closed the door behind them, the old-fashioned gas lamp sprang into life, casting flickering light along the length of the hallway. It looked just as Harry had remembered it, eerie, cobwebbed, and the outlines of house-elf heads on the wall throwing odd shadows up the staircase. Long, dark curtains concealed the portrait of Sirius's mother. The only thing that was out of place was the troll's leg umbrella stand, which was lying on its side as if Tonks had just knocked it over again. I think somebody's been in here, Hermione whispered, pointing toward it. That could have happened as the Order left, Ron murmured back. So where are these jinxes they put up against Snape? Harry asked. Maybe they're only activated if he shows up, suggested Ron. Yet they remained close together on the doormat, backs against the door, scared to move farther into the house. Well, we can't stay here forever, said Harry, and he took a step forward. Severus Snape! Mad-Eye Moody's voice whispered out of the darkness, making all three of them jump back in fright. "We're not Snape," croaked Harry before something whooshed over him like cold air, and his tongue curled backward on itself, making it impossible to speak. Before he had time to feel his inside his mouth, however, his tongue had unraveled again. The other two seemed to have experienced the same unpleasant sensation. Ron was making retching noises. Hermione stammered.
That must have been the tongue-tying cast Mad-Eye set up for Snape.
Gingerly, Harry took another step forward. Something shifted in the shadows at the end of the hall. Before any of them could say another word, a figure had risen out of the carpet. Tall and dust-covered, and terrible. Hermione screamed, and so did Mrs. Black, her curtains flying open. The grey figure was gliding towards them faster and faster, its waist-length hair and beard streaming behind it, its sunken face fleshless, with empty sockets. Horribly familiar, dreadfully altered, it raised its wasted arms, pointing at Harry. "No!" Harry shouted, though he had raised his wand, no spell occurred to him. "No! It wasn't us! We didn't kill you!" On the word "kill," the figure exploded into a great cloud of dust. Coughing, his eyes watering, Harry looked around to see Hermione crouched on the floor by the door, with her arms over her head, and Ron, who was shaking from head to foot, patting her clumsily on the shoulders and saying, "It's all right. It's gone." Dust swirled around Harry like mist, catching the blue gaslight as Mrs. Black continued to scream.
"Mudbloods! Filth! Stains of dishonour! Taint of shame on the house of my fathers!"
Shut up!
Harry bellowed, directing his wand at her, and with a bang and a burst of red sparks, the curtain swung shut again, silencing her.
That was...
Hermione whimpered, and Ron helped her to her feet. "Yeah," said Harry. "But it wasn't really him, was it? Just something to scare Snape." Had it worked, Harry wondered, or had Snape already blasted the horror figure aside, and casually as he had killed the real Dumbledore? Nerves still tingling, he led the other two up the hall, half expecting some new terror to reveal itself, but nothing moved except for a mouse skittering along the skirting board.
"Before we go any farther, I think we should check," whispered Hermione, and she raised her wand and said, "Hominum revelio."
Nothing happened.
Well,
You've just had a big shot," said Ron kindly. "What was that supposed to do?"
"It did what it was meant to do,"
said Hermione rather crossly.
"That was a spell to reveal human presence, and there's nobody here except us."
"And old Dusty," said Ron, glancing at the patch of carpet which the corpse figure had risen.
"Let's go up,"
said Hermione with a frightened look at the same spot, and she led the way up the creaking stairs to the drawing room on the first floor. Hermione waved her wand to ignite the old gas lamps, then, shivering slightly in the drafty room, she perched on the sofa, her arms wrapped tightly around her. Ron crossed to the window and moved the heavy velvet curtains aside an inch. "Can't see anyone out there," he reported. "And do you think if Harry's still had the trace on him, they'd have followed us here? I know they can't get in the house, but... What's up, Harry?" Harry had given a cry of pain. His scar had burned again, as something flashed across his mind like a bright light on water. He saw a large shadow, and he felt a fury that was not his own pound through his body, violent and brief as an electric shock. "What did you see?" Ron asked, advancing on Harry. "Did you see him at my place?" "No, I just felt anger. He's really angry." "But that could be at the Burrow," said Ron loudly. "What else? Didn't you see anything? Was he cursing someone?" "No, I just felt anger. I couldn't tell." Harry felt badgered, confused, and Hermione did not help as she said in a frightened voice,
Your scar again. But what's going on? I thought that connection had closed.
It did, for a while, muttered Harry. His scar was still painful, which made it hard to concentrate.
I think it started opening again whenever he loses control. That's how it used to. But then you've got to close your mind,
Hermione said shrilly.
Harry, Dumbledore didn't want you to use that connection. He wanted you to shut it down. That's why you were supposed to use occlumency. Otherwise Voldemort can plant false images in your mind, remember?
Yeah, I do remember. Thanks, said Harry through gritted teeth. He did not need Hermione to tell him that Voldemort had once used his self-same connection between them to lead him into a trap, nor that it had resulted in Sirius's death. He wished that he had not told them what he had seen and felt it made Voldemort more threatening, as though he were pressing against the window of the room. And still, the pain in his scar was building, and he fought it. It was like resisting the urge to be sick. He turned his back on Ron and Hermione, pretending to examine the old tapestry of the Black family tree on the wall. Then Hermione shrieked. Harry drew his wand again and spun to see a silver Patronus soar through the drawing room window and land upon the floor right in front of him, where it solidified as the weasel that spoke in the voice of Ron's father. Family safe. Do not reply. We're being watched. The Patronus dissolved into nothingness. Ron let out a noise between a whimper and a groan and dropped onto the sofa. Hermione joined him, gripping his arm.
They're all right. They're all right, she whispered,
and Ron half laughed and hugged her.
Harry,
she said. Harry, he said over Hermione's shoulder.
It's not a problem,
said Harry, sickened by the pain in his head.
It's your family. Of course you're worried. I feel the same way.
He thought of Ginny.
I do feel the same way.
The pain in his scar was reaching a peak, burning as it had done in the garden of the burrow. Faintly he heard Hermione say,
I don't want to be on my own. Could we use the sleeping bags I've brought to camp in here tonight?
He heard Ron agree he could not fight the pain much longer. He had to succumb.
Bathroom,
he muttered, and he left the room as fast as he could without running. He barely made it, bolting the door behind him with trembling hands. He grasped his pounding head and fell to the floor. Then, in an explosion of agony, he felt the rage that did not belong to him possess his soul, saw a long room lit by firelight. It was the great blonde Death Eater on the floor, screaming and writhing, a slighter figure standing over him, wand outstretched while Harry spoke in a high, cold, merciless voice.
More! Roll! Or shall we end it and feed you to Nagini? Lord Voldemort is not sure that he will forgive this time. You called me back for this, to tell me that Harry Potter escaped again. Draco, give Roll another taste of our displeasure. Do it, or feel my wrath yourself.
A log fell into the fire. Flames reared and the light darting across a terrified, pointed white face. With a sense of emerging from deep water, Harry drew heaving breaths and opened his eyes. He was spreading eagle on the cold black marble floor, his nose inches from one of the silver serpent tails that supported the large bathtub. He sat up. Malfoy's gaunt, petrified face seemed branded on the inside of his eyes. Harry felt sickened by what he had seen, by the use of which Draco was now being put by Voldemort. There was a sharp rap on the door, and Harry jumped as Hermione's voice rang out.
Harry, do you want your toothbrush? I've got it here.
Yeah, great, thanks, he said, fighting to keep his voice casual as he stood up to let her in. And so ends Chapter 9 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Refrick, thank you for the bits, my friend. I didn't see those come in, but thank you kindly. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated, my friend. I've received messages from Matty, Bobby, and Esther. I am feeling the tavern love. I stepped on the foot of my walking stick and face planted last night. Few cuts and contusions, and my back hates me. My GP has general practitioners cut my pain meds as well, which doesn't help. Oh, Bear, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. I'm glad you're all right. Everyone was right worried about you. My goodness, Bear, that sounds terrible. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Please take care of yourself and rest up. Please feel better soon, says Esther. Yeah, no kidding. I hope you feel better soon, mate. Gosh, you got to take care of yourself. I must away to finish chores. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Sweet dreams. Good night, Heather. Rest well. Oh. Thank you for reading, Castle. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mary Beth. Alright, friends. Let's get 2 songs under our belt, and then we'll end up for the night. It's truly a shame to come to an end. Yes, it is. Let's see. Yeah, the next chapter is quite long. I don't think we'd be able to do another one. That's alright, because we'll be back next week. Good night, Bobby. Rest well. I'm glad that you're able to make it in. I hope that you have a wonderful night. And maybe we'll see you back on Sunday for the lady. Irish pub, please, Castle. Alright, we can do Irish pub. I feel the chapters I'm writing so hard to write. I learned I don't like writing implied mind control. It is difficult. Once again, I must slide out for the night. My mornings start earlier these days. Good night, Frost. Rest well, my friend. Good night, Kristalla. Thank you for the wonderful storytelling. Of course, Belinda, rest well. Or Red is the Rose with Una. I think either of those is a possibility. Heselin, everyone, have a good night. Going to bed. Good night, Hez. Rest well, and I hope you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. It's pretty effed, and I can't get in to see him until Monday. Just make sure you take care of yourself. Yeah, let's do Irish Pub and Tale of the Shadow. How about that? That sounds good to me. When is your next stream? So, the next story time is on Sunday. I will provide waffles, possibly, which is where we just talk about stories and storytelling. And then the lady will read after me, and she is in the midst of reading Juliette Marier's Child of the Prophecy. And the lady is also a wonderful storyteller, in case you're worried, Katie. She's quite good at what she does. Well, sounds like Bear's not rightly up to too much entertainment. I feel like he's probably wanted to rest. But if the Bear has a request for a song, I'll happily take it. Moby Duck, maybe? Yeah, sure, we can do Moby Duck. Why not? Alright, so we'll do the Irish pub song, we'll do the Tale of the Shadow, and we'll do Moby Duck. Let's do them in the reverse order, though. We'll do Moby Duck, then we'll do Tale of the Shadow, and then we'll do the Irish pub song, because the Irish pub song has a nice send-off in it. So we'll do that. Alright, for those of you that are new, that have never been here before, at the end of every story time, all the tavern folk will get together and sing a song. We sing a few songs, sometimes we sing them between chapters, but tonight we did not. But tonight we're going to sing 3 songs. We're going to sing Moby Duck, we're going to sing Tale of the Shadow, and we're going to sing the Irish pub song. I can't wait to see Bosch, she's good, I have seen her on TikTok. Well, there you go. Moby Duck is funny, it's about a guy who retires and ends up having to fight a giant, terrible duck. Alright, friends, if you know the words, join in, and if you don't, just pretend like you do and mumble along. After 14 years, I left the sea for a life upon a lake. After all the storms I'd seen, I needed a good break. I thought still waters would mean peace for me, but that was a mistake. For the place I chose was bedeviled by a giant evil drake. A mallard of such malice twice the size of any man, a bill to give you nightmares and a monstrous wingspan. You cannot hope to fight it, so avoid him if you can. A terrifying waterfowl, the beast beyond the dam. Row ho, row with all your might. Row with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away the dreaded Moby Duck. I'm not one for surrender, for so a vengeful oath I swore. I gathered up me hearties like so many times before. We shod our ship with weapons and prepared to go to war, till the fetid, feathered, fearsome flying duck would breathe no more. Row ho, row with all your might. Row with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away the dreaded Moby Duck. There was bonny brave Marie, who to her arms she waved goodbye, and handsome Jack, whose duck attack left him without an eye. The Darby twins with one leg each on deck were standing by, only a couple dozen limbs between a crew of 25. Row ho, with all our might. Row with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away the dreaded Moby Duck. The fight raged on for several hours, defend and then attack. With beating from those wicked wings, the boat began to crack. The beast reared up to finish the job, and with a mighty quack, I rammed my harpoon in his throat and made a tasty snack. Row ho, us back to shore. Row, drag his broken body back and roast it on an oar. Row ho, barbecue the beast. With hoisin sauce and pancakes, we'll have the biggest feast. Row ho, row with all our might. We rowed with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row ho, we had all the luck. We won the day and did away the dreaded Moby Duck. We won the day and did away the dreaded Moby Duck. And that is Moby Duck. Very funny song by The Longest Johns. Castle, I really enjoyed Moby Duck. Great job performing the song. As I think of sharing such a wonderful tour. Always my pleasure. As Bear's request. It's one of his favourites as well. Alright, we'll do Tale of the Shuttle now. Still get a bit pitchy with this one, but that's alright. This one is by Sail North. This is a very popular TikTok band. It is funny, it is very funny. I like the only a couple of dozen limbs between a crew of 25. I find that to be hilarious. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you, love. I set upon the sea to search for phantom sails of tales my mum told me. A ghostly galleon filled with gold she sails alone. No crew, no captain's guiding hand can tame the one the sailors call the Shadow. Sun and horizon met. I weighed the anchor, hoisted sails, my course was set. My cutthroat crew conspiring with the stars our guide. They point the way through perils fraught and lead us to the one they call the Shadow. None can tame the one the sailors call the Shadow. Lean left, hard right. She'll hold tightly to her helm, she'll try to drown you just for spite. Heave ho, till first light. She'll give a fight to all who try to claim the Shadow. None can tame the one the sailors call the Shadow. A mighty tempest grew. The banshee cried, "Turn back," but our resolve was true. We pointed bow ahead and shouted, "We'll break through. The jaws of hell can't hold us back. There's nothing that can keep us from the Shadow." The winds blew stronger still. The ocean raged again, 'tis tried to break our will. The sirens in the water, thirsty for the kill. Our vessel reeling to and fro, to bear us to the one they call the shadow. None can keep us from the one they call the shadow. Lean left, hard right, hold tightly to her helm, she'll try to drown you just for spite. Heave ho, till first light, she'll give a fight to all who try to claim the shadow. None can tame the one the sailors call the shadow. And thunder split the sky, the lightning drew a shape beyond the tempest's eye. A chill ran through me spine as legend came alive. Avast, I cried, all hands, as we prepare to take the ones they call the shadow. As we approached her shell, the skies went silent, seas went calm, as if by spell. No sign of fight or flight were in her, all was well, until I tried to take her helm. Her rigging came alive, she hung me crew before me eyes. She stole the sight and cursed me captain of the shadow. She took my eyes and cursed me captain of the shadow. Lean left, hard right, steer clear of her, I feel she'll eat your soul, she'll take your life. Heave ho, till first light, she'll claim the souls of all who tried to claim the shadow. None can tame the one the sailors call the shadow. None can tame the one the sailors call the shadow. It's called The Tale of the Shadow, yes. Boys in the Ocean is my favourite song by the longest shot. I really like that one too. It's difficult for me to sing because the tune is so weird. But it is a very good song. Bones in the Ocean is a very good song. Alright, last but certainly not least, we have the Irish pub song. An absolute classic. This one's been around for a while. My favourite version of it is done by the High Kings, though. So if you're ever interested in finding it. Alright. It's a good song. It's by Sail North, so you should look it up. They do a much better job than I do. Well, you're walking through the city street. You could be in Peru, and you hear a distant call, and then you know it's meant for you. Then you drop what you were doing, and you join the merry mob, and before you know just where you are, you're in an Irish pub. They got one in Honolulu, they got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now the design is fairly simple, and it usually works the same. You'll have Razor Houghton scoring in the Ireland-England game, and you know you're in an Irish pub the minute you're in the door, for a couple of boys with boards will be murdering Christy Moore. They've got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now the owner is Norwegian, and the manager comes from Cork, and the lad who's holding up the bar says only just work. He was born and bred in Bolton, but his mammy's from Kildare, and he's going to make his fortune soon and move to County Clare. They've got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now it's time for me to go, I have to catch me train. So I'll leave you sitting at the bar and face the wind and rain. For I have that pint you owe me, if I'm not gone on the dry, when we meet next week in Frankfurt in the fields of Athenry. They've got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world you find an Irish pub. They've got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world you find an Irish pub. Oh, wherever you go around the world you find an Irish pub. I do like the High Kings version, because the High Kings were an anomaly. I wish that they still made, like, they still did music, because obviously the High Kings, they still perform, but they don't do as many, like, rewrites of old shanties. They don't do as many original shanties as they used to, because the High Kings are some of the best performers, probably in all of Irish music, honestly. What a fantastic song, the Irish Pub. So thank you. Of course, sister, of course. Always my pleasure. Always my pleasure. Well, my friends, I think that is where we're going to end for the night. Cleanly and neatly, just before 9 p.m. my time. I know I got started very late today. I appreciate you all being here, especially for the barkeeps that showed up to help 10 bar. I appreciate you for it. Very kind of you, friends. Bear, I hope you feel better, brother. Make sure you take care of yourself. Esther, have a wonderful night. Katie, I'm so glad that you've been enjoying your time with us here in the tavern. Thank you for bringing Jordan with us, because I hope Jordan's enjoying as well. Matty, thank you for tending bar, my friend. Ashley, thank you for holding up the bar over on TikTok. I appreciate you for that, love. To everyone who liked and shared anything that the tavern does, I appreciate you. You're absolutely wonderful. Teresa, good night. Gunnar, haven't made one from the beginning in quite some time. Very much a treat. Gunnar, I'm so glad to see you. I was just getting ready to message you, or I was going to message you tomorrow to see how you were faring. I hope you're doing well, brother. I'm glad you made it in tonight. Katie, I'm glad that you think so. I'm glad that you think so. Good night, Castle. Thank you for an unforgettable evening filled with wonderful memories. Wonderful storytelling. I mean, it can be both. Sleep well, Lester. A good night, my friend. A good night. Tyson, always a pleasure, my friend. Kelsey, thanks for keeping us company tonight. Always my pleasure, always. Katie, good night. It was a blast. Good night. Now, for our tavern friends over on Twitch, for those of you who feel like making somebody's night, we're going to go raid out to somebody this evening. But for everyone else, you're welcome to go off to bed. There's no rest for the wicked Twitchers, though. Please do message me if you find the time. I'd love to come. Yeah, absolutely, brother. I still plan to message you tomorrow. But I'm glad that you dropped in. I hadn't seen you in such a long time. I was worried for you, but I'll still message you. No, it's all right, Bear. You had good reason to be raped. Please take care of yourself. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself. Elsie says hi to Coda. I don't know where he is at the moment, but I will pass it along. I'll give him a head pat from her. Key, Dreamwell Castle. Everyone, may your dreams be of glory and sunshine. Key, may you rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day, and may all the rains of your winter fall gently upon your head and your fields, and may nothing but the most beautiful of harvests come from both. Still need to message Una. There's so many messages to be had. All right, my friends, it was lovely to have you all, and I thank you all for all you do for the tavern. Refrick, thank you for the bits, my friend. I appreciate you for that. And for anybody else who tipped the tavern keeper, thank you kindly. It is wonderful. And for everyone who gave your time to the tavern tonight, whether you were a barkeep or a regular, or you were brand new, thank you for your attention. It means the world to a storyteller. Bless you as well, Esther, and to everyone, have an absolutely wonderful night. Until the next time we gather here, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, my friends, and I will see you again soon. Good night.
Why? Okay, that's stupid. Oh.
Wait, did I just miss?
No, you knocked the head down, but I think